first part in a short series looking at transformational change for schools doing authentic intellectual work. The conversation today is just a quick understanding of what AIW is. We get that question a lot from people in the field, so I've invited Susan Peterson and Fred Nolan to join me in talking in a much more global and real-term way about the framework for authentic intellectual work. So, Fred and Susie, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to start here with the actual framework itself, because I think a lot of people get confused when they hear authentic. They think value beyond school, or they think real world. Do you ever encounter that problem when you're working with schools?
Yes, they think it's something that they don't do in their usual life, but they do it every day as professionals in their own work.
And beyond that, they think for students, school is school, but school work needs to be authentic. And so this framework is going to help us set up that authentic piece.
What I like to emphasize is that when we actually begin to look at the framework itself, it helps us see how the different parts of what we do in our, for example, instruction here fit into these other criteria. So in the framework for authentic intellectual work, we talk about how important construction of knowledge is, and we can measure that in terms of the quality of thinking. Discipline inquiry is both the concepts and knowledge that kids are thinking about, but also how they talk about it and show evidence for that. And then the value beyond school is the degree to which they're solving actual problems and understanding how that knowledge that they've learned exists outside the classroom. We can do it in terms of instruction. We can also talk about it in terms of task. And then I think, Susie, what you were getting at a moment ago is how important it is to see evidence of that kind of teaching in the student performance.
Absolutely.
So in later videos, and in particular in part 2, Dr. King will talk about the research implications of this framework. But what I'd like to do with the two of you right now is put up a series of pictures and just think about this question. Is constructing our own knowledge in the discipline important for real life activities? I've got some examples here. Planning a trip in the Boundary Waters, running a marathon, parasailing over the Pacific Ocean for fun, or making the perfect putt. Do any of these pictures resonate with either of you?
Well, sure. You need to have the knowledge of canoeing and camping and portaging in order to have a successful Boundary Waters trip. And when you take the trip into the Boundary Waters, you're going to construct the knowledge about how to portage. And the same with putting, and you do need to know a little bit about golf in order to have enjoyment and have greater success at it. It's also more frustrating because you're more into it. But yes, very important.
I'm actually going to move to another picture here because, Susie, I know you like gardening a lot. And I'd really like you to take this particular example and break it down here for people to understand. So we've got criteria for authentic intellectual work and gardening. And I want you to just kind of walk us through, if I think about construction of knowledge and gardening, what are some things that come to mind for you?
Well, in constructing knowledge for gardening, I need to have some basics about organizing and how I'm going to organize maybe the physical space and analyzing what that physical space looks like, and then taking all that information about plants, about my particular flower bed, and organizing that information in a manner that's going to make sense. And then I'm going to end up creating a design by synthesizing all that information. And that's all higher order thinking and constructing knowledge about what I need to know before I begin this project.
So the funny thing is, I know a lot of gardeners who are really creative, but if you don't have this next section, I'm just wondering if the garden will actually grow.
Well, and I'm proof positive of that because some springs are very hectic, and so I buy pretty plants and put them in wherever I want to, and the end result is not that picture you see behind the framework. I need to understand what the soil content is for this specific bed. I need to know pH. I need to know how the water drains. I need to be able to say, oh, I love this flower, but it is not in my zone, and an Iowa winter is going to kill it off, and I'm going to waste my time and effort. And then, is it a shade? Is it partial shade? What's going to happen in that Iowa sun when it's 110 degrees? So, being able to have that deep knowledge and understanding about what what I need to do to actually physically put this bed together.
And then it
And in the,
sounds
and in
like,
the
go ahead, Fred. Did you have a question?
And in the previous slide, the marathoning and the wilderness trips and the parasailing, if you don't have a good understanding of all those activities, they can be life-threatening. So yes, you need disciplined inquiry to be safely in those activities as well.
Actually, what's interesting here is the whole value beyond the school in our real life context is actually about being able to solve real problems. In this case, it's your ability, Susie, to create and apply um, a viable flower bed that's going to flourish year after year. In my case, I don't have any sun in my yard, so it's always a challenge for me to go for a shade garden because roses are just so much prettier in the store. This last slide here, I think it's powerful for people to think about so many different professions where we rely on experts who have all three of the criteria working for them. And I think about building, for example. I don't want somebody working on my building a porch or a sunroom off of my house if they don't have that disciplined inquiry in there. So that's why I might contract out and have somebody do it. All my creative ideas in the world won't actually create something that's consistent with code and actually, even from a design perspective, copacetic with the rest of the structure. Susie, what about you when you think about this?
Well, obviously, the teaching comes into play. We have, when we go through teacher prep, we have so much content knowledge given to us. But unless we have that deep understanding of content plus student behavior plus all of those intricate things that help us understand being a teacher, we we are not going to have any value beyond just teaching a class for those kids.
Fred,
And as,
how's
and as
your
I look at those pictures, those are the things we want our graduates to be able to do. We want them to be productive and good citizens and problem solvers and be experts in their field, whatever their field is. And so when we can get them to do this in school, they're naturally getting ready to do it when they get out of school because they're already used to those higher order thinking skills, deep understanding, and actually having work that does value. That's what makes the schoolwork more than just schoolwork and makes it authentic and very valuable both today and in the student's future.
I thought I'd end with a fun clip of a teacher who came to our summer institute last year and wrote a poem about how and why she got involved in AIW. But I just want to thank both of you for participating in this discussion, and I think it was really useful.
You're welcome, Dana.
Thanks, Dana.
My name is Cindy Taylor, and I teach at HMS. Please don't expect too much because this poem may not impress. I teach language arts, and I also teach SPED. Abilities of my kids I work with, well, it's a really large spread. Well, I was once asked by a dear friend, Katie Evenson, could you take a look at an AIW video? So I said, consider it done. I checked out the movie, and what did I see? I saw teachers teaching students so intentionally. I thought, I could do this, and my students could get smart too. So I went down to my principal and I said, what must I do? I really want to be involved in this thing you may not have heard of. It's called AIW, and it's something you are going to love. Well, the next thing you know, we've got an HMS team consisting of K-12 teachers, and we've learned some great new things. Our administrators worked some magic, so monthly we could meet to learn the ropes of scoring teacher tasks until complete. We brought in our own tasks, then the scoring we would do. We scored them with a 4, or a 3, a 1, or 2. The feedback from our group was the very best part. It helped us revise tasks so our students could get smart. Construction knowledge happened all the time for us, it's true, and our goal, as always, is to assist kids to do the same thing too. I do think every teacher needs to learn new things so we can help our students go after life with some great zing. It's time to roll out AIW to the entire district now. We are really anxious, though we know some will have a cow. An optimistic attitude is what our team will bring. We want our teachers happy, and we want them asking, do I have solid buy-in? Can I work collectively? Why do we need teams? And why be organic authentically? Learning must be authentic for the teachers and the kids. Let's encourage risk-taking and rock this AIW biz.